NEWS.MC on Monaco Info is brought to you by Monaco Legend Properties. Our exclusive interview with the personalities making the Principality.
My name is Abigail Tara-Lilly. I'm a model and actress. I grew up in a small town called the Wirral, which is in Merseyside, which is over the water from Liverpool. And it's a very, very small town. There's not much going on there. So I didn't actually leave England until I was 17 years old, so I spent most of my life there. I was homeschooled until I was 12. My parents didn't really agree with the education system over there because they didn't feel that I was going to get the right education. So they homeschooled me, and I was a very creative child. So they focused a lot on like my music abilities and painting. So I had a very happy childhood actually. I'm one of 7 girls as well, so it was quite challenging for my parents, but they managed. I wanted to do everything actually. I loved learning new things all the time. So at some point I wanted to be a vet, and then I realized that I would be sad if the animals died, so I was like, okay, I can't do that. And then I wanted to be a dancer. I did ballet for a long time. Yeah, artist, everything. But my main thing that I really wanted to do was theatre, musical theatre. I started modelling when I was 16, but I was in theatre school for a very long time, since I was 10 years old. I was on stage and somebody scouted me and said, we really want you to be a model. And I was 13 at the time, and I was like, no, I don't want to be a model, you know? And then people kept scouting me and coming up to me in the street and saying, we really want you on our books, we think you'll be an incredible model. And I really didn't want to be a model. But at one point, I just thought, you know what? I might as well do it, because I got offered a contract in China. And I just came home from college one day and I said to my parents, I'm going to go to China. And they were like, what? I didn't even have a passport at the time. I'd never left the country. I was like, I'm going to China. And they were like, for what? And I was like, I've been offered a contract as a model. So I just flew out. I got my passport, flew out. I had no money because my parents weren't very rich. I was working as a sweep in the hairdressers just to save up to pay for my passport. Got so many jobs just like this. I was on magazines, I was in Cosmopolitan and yeah, Vogue. I was at the dentist with my mum, and there was a Vogue magazine, and I must have been about 10. And I opened it and I saw this beautiful editorial of this girl, and she was just sitting in the forest with this beautiful dress, and I looked at that and I said, Mummy, I want to be in this magazine when I grow up. And I was like, I'm going to be in this magazine. She was like, okay, you know, like dreamer. And I was like, no, Mummy, I'm going to be in this magazine. And when I started traveling at 17, I was in Vogue within 2 years, a 6-page cover of Vogue. And I showed my mum and I said, Mum, I told you so. I told you I was going to be in this magazine. It was very challenging for me, actually, when I was traveling. I was quite naive, being very protected from the world, to kind of being thrown into the ocean, you know, like a tiny pond into a big ocean full of sharks. And I was vulnerable, and I didn't understand that people could be so bad, you know? So I did fall into a few difficult, challenging situations. I managed to come out of it stronger. And it's a lesson. It's taught me a lot about life. And I have a daughter, she's 5, so I'm very, very protective over her now. You know, it was a good lesson for me. Although it's taken me to the most incredible places and I've met the most incredible people, I wouldn't advise it for young girls. It has affected me mentally, I think, like the unrealistic like beauty standards, stuff like this. I think I developed a bit of body dysmorphia over the years from it, and it's something that I'm working on now. I'm in my 30s, I'm turning 30 this year, and it's still something that I find difficult, you know, within myself, kind of self-acceptance and stuff. But I was too young to be thrown into such a huge and challenging environment. But like I said, I've learned from it and I'm stronger now, and I think it was a way of the universe or whatever trying to teach me about life, you know. I was always the model that wasn't so thin, but I wasn't plus size. I was just normal, like, weight. So they used me a lot for the commercial catalogue stuff because I didn't want to be unhappy. I like to eat, I enjoy food. So I was like, okay, I'm happy just being a catalogue and a commercial model. I did a lot of the TV commercials for, you know, because of that, because I looked like a normal, healthy healthy girl. I used to live with like 10 models, and we'd live in an apartment with 10 girls, and we'd all be getting ready for castings, and I saw how much it affected them when, you know, when they were starving, and I just didn't want to go down that route. When I was in South Korea, the food was great there, so I put a little bit of weight on. It sounds crazy, but every week they would measure the girls in the agency with the tape. I was 2 centimeters bigger than I should have been. And they give us pocket money like every week so we can buy food and blah, blah, blah. And they cut my pocket money because they were like, we don't want you to eat. So that was challenging for me, to be told I'm too fat and I'm not allowed to eat. I had to like ration my food. That was the downside of the industry. I wasn't big at all. I just put like 2 centimeters on my hips and they were like, no, like really telling me off. So they are quite strict. They're very strict. And sometimes even if you put weight on, they would send you home. Okay, we don't want to work with you now. They'd send girls home. And some of the girls there were like even 14. They were very young. They didn't speak English. They come from Russia, different countries. And it was quite heartbreaking for me to see these girls going through. This is why I don't advise girls to do it. We have to run to places where we just get given the address and we don't know if the people that we're going to meet are safe. And these girls are 14, 15, coming from tiny villages, and they're just expected to manage, you know, in such a crazy environment. And the days are long, shooting days, really long. We're in the car most of the day for castings, driving around, blah, blah, blah. You have to be really tough, because the amount of times where I've gone to castings and they've just looked at me and said, no, like out. Oh, like, why are you here? We don't like your hair, your nose is too big, this. And as a young girl, it's like, oh my gosh. But I just told myself that I'm not right for them. They're looking for a particular image, okay? And maybe they want a blonde or dark hair or maybe, you know, someone taller. So I just kind of told myself I'm not right for them, but I'm gonna be right for somebody else. It was quite difficult for me in Japan. They were telling me to lie about my age because they said if you're over a certain age, you're not desirable. So I had to tell people I was 16 when I was actually 19. I think for a model there, it was a difficult environment. Like, you see the ugly side of things when you're a model. You get invited to all these VIP parties. You see what happens behind the scenes, and it's quite scary. Especially for a young girl who's come from, like I said, a very small town, to be thrown into this, like, I've always wanted to stop, but work just keeps coming, and I'm like, okay, next year, and then it's like, you know. But I think you can have a long career as a model, because they're always looking for people of all ages, and you know, even for acting as well. I do a bit of acting. I do a lot of like TV commercials and stuff like that, and they want people of all ages, so I'm not worried that my career is going to end soon. There's always something. But now I'm interested in doing more film, and I've recently been signed with an acting agency in London, and they've offered me quite a lot of work for Netflix. I'm trying to pick and choose what I do, because I don't want to do one thing and for it to like affect my career, if that makes sense. Waiting for the right thing to come up. I've always wanted to help people. When I was younger, I didn't grow up in a very rich family, and we used to help at the homeless shelter with me and all my sisters. I think it's humbling coming from that environment and then being in a very flashy environment. But I've always wanted to help people, poor and people who have problems, mental health problems. And my dream actually in the future is to become a psychologist. I've been through a lot in my life, so I feel like I'm able to become a good psychologist, if that makes sense, because I've seen many things. I've been through many things. I've been the lowest, like the poorest. I've been the richest, you know. So I could really understand people from all different backgrounds. So yeah, my dream is to become a psychologist in the future. I do like it here. The first few years here were quite challenging for me. I was quite isolated. But now that my daughter's in school, I'm working a lot again, and I found amazing people here. It feels like home. It does feel like home here, actually. When I walk out, it's like, you know, bonjour, bonjour. You see everyone you know. It's really nice. I don't think I would ever move back to where I'm from, like my hometown, but my heart will always be there. But I am happy here. I have a child, and I think the schools here are amazing. It's really safe. I feel safe here with her, and what I like about it is that there's a lot of very interesting people here. They've all had a vision in life, and they've all made something of themselves, and it's kind of like an environment full of all of these outcasts, but we all come together and we all fit in with each other, you know? It's really hard to find them. You have to kind of make yourself go out and meet people, because everyone's quite not isolated, but I feel like everyone likes to keep themselves here.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching News.MC, your English rendezvous on Monaco Info. Discover more interviews and stories on our websites, News.MC and MonacoInfo.com. This show was brought to you by Monaco Legend Properties.